if I had some bad games, man, if you looked at your Twitter mentions, people were coming at you, man. Fans were coming at you. And then that's when you go in defense mode and you're like, yo, I'm just a team player. I don't care that, I didn't have any catches. We won the game. Like, you think I really care about my catches when we won the game? That's what it's all about. But then if you have a great fantasy day, you're like, yeah, I did it for my fans. I did it for you guys. I did it for your fantasy roster. So you guys always play the game as well.
Welcome to Dudes on Dudes. I'm Julian Edelman.
I'm Rob Gronkowski.
And this is the show where your favorite dudes get to talk about their favorite dude.
It's fantasy playoff football time, ladies and gentlemen. So we're talking about some fantasy legends. Who are some of the best fantasy players of all time? First, a versatile back from an NFL family.
This guy, he was born into this. A dude that only went by his initials.
That's like Gronk going by Gronk instead of Gronkowski.
That means you have to be a legend. You have to be a legend to have a nickname.
Thank you. We get into another dude that rewrote the record books with not just one team, but two teams.
He was a pivotal part of their pass game. He was great in the run game, and he didn't get hurt. He was healthy his whole career.
And we wrap it up by drafting our all-time fantasy team.
All time?
All time, baby. All time.
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's play ball.
Dudes on Dudes is a production of iHeartRadio. Welcome to Dudes on Dudes, and we have a very special episode today.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we're going to go over, because it's getting to that time of year, fantasy playoffs.
And this is reality that we have going on today, Jules. So I know everyone out there has this fantasy mind of what goes on in the fantasy world of football, but this is reality, and we're going to be talking about the biggest and baddest fantasy players that have ever played the game of football.
It's fantasy themed. We'll go over like horses. Guys that, if they played in this generation, guys that do play in this generation, guys that played in older generations, that would just fucking light up the scoreboard. It's been kind of fun because, since we've retired, Rob, we've been in a fantasy team together.
And it's actually my first fantasy league I've ever joined in my life, Jules.
Yeah, we have the Nut House Fantasy League, and let's go over.
And before someone corrects me, I was on air. I did a fantasy draft. I just did not follow up and played in the actual league. It was just a draft to give an example to all the fans out there on how to draft and who to draft and what guys are out there. So it's kind of explaining the game, but this is truly the first league that I participated in my whole entire life, man.
Yeah.
So this is really cool.
All right. So Rob, so we actually play each other this week.
Oh, we do? All right.
We play each other.
You're going down, boy.
You're
going down. Guess what my record is right now?
What?
1-12, motherfucker. And guess what it's going to be after this week?
What?
2-12.
Wait.
Motherfucker.
So Rob's team. I like your team name, Rob.
I'm going to start saying mother trucker instead of motherfucker. So mother trucker.
Rob's rad team.
You're going down, mother trucker.
Rob, did you even name your team?
Are you talking?
Rob, did you name the team?
You're my opponent. Are you talking?
I'm just saying.
You get in my head,
Rob's rad team.
Yeah, Rob's rad team is 1-12.
1-12?
No,
I'm not doing any better.
I actually didn't name my team. I'll give you my whole entire strategy, how I named the team, how I picked my team as well, once you ask that question.
What was your strategy of making this team?
Oh, all right. Well, you asked. Well, my strategy was totally miss out on the Zoom call while everyone was picking. So I was automatically getting my team drafted by the computer system that Yahoo presented.
Auto draft.
It was auto draft, and I was just getting the top player available on the board every single time I was up to draft, and that's how you do it. You're guaranteed the top player that's available when you auto draft. So I don't see why people would draft.
Well, how's that done this season?
Yeah, I'm killing it. If you bet it, against me every week, you would win. I'm 1-12.
Yourself.
I'm 1-12.
You're
Rob's rad team is radically shitty.
I've been struggling too, honestly. My fantasy team name is Ernest Does Football. I used to like those Ernest movies. Ernest Scared Straight. Ernest Does Halloween.
The only thing I know that's close to Ernest is Ernie Adams.
Well, my old one used to be Ernie Adams' Family.
And I can tell you this: if you got any in the name, because Ernie Adams is the smartest, bestest genius of all times in the football world. So that means if you got Ernest in your fantasy name, you should be undefeated.
I'm
That's
not.
disrespectful to the Ernie
I
Adams,
know.
Jules.
And I've kind of tried on this, but my guys just haven't been working. I mean, I had Jordan Love, Metcalf. I did a trade for Metcalf. I had no running back at the beginning of the season, so I had to make this crazy trade to get Josh Jacobs. Did have Saquon, was holding my team together, but then, I've been scrapping at receiver with Jalen Reed. He's been doing well. Hawkinson, I picked him up after, he's been hurt, and he's been gradually getting better. But my team, I'll have a guy that performs, and then one week guy wasn't. It's tough. I'm trying to put my players in the best position to win. But, Rob, it's been tough. But I'm going to take your team down this week because my whole team is getting healthy. And I can't even take the credit. I got to take the credit of these guys right now.
Well,
they're each and every.
Oh, first off, you better take me down because I have someone starting this week, and they don't even have a game. They're on bye week.
Well, Jamal Williams?
Yeah, Jamal Williams. So that's actually what happened. I've actually haven't.
You got to go make a change. It's Thursday.
I haven't looked at my team.
Go make a fucking change.
This is why I'm 1-12. First off, my projecting score this week is 66 points, and usually the average is about 100 to 120, and that's just how many guys I've been starting that actually weren't even playing that week. So that's terrible. First off, and I kind of haven't looked at my fantasy team in about 6 to 7 weeks.
You got to
forgot about it. But this is why I kind of just got pissed at fantasy is that
Philly's D. Got to put it in.
Shut up, Jules. I'm talking, okay, about my fantasy team. It's not about your fantasy team. It's
I'm talking
mine.
about your fan. Oh,
1-12. I need the most
you.
press I can get with my fantasy team because no one's been having any talk about him because I've been so terrible. But I dropped Joe Mixon this year because he was on a bye week. No, he wasn't on a bye. He got hurt for a little bit, and then all my other running backs were on a bye week, so I had to drop someone. So I was like, all right, I'll drop Joe Mixon real quick. So I drop him. I get another pretty decent running back. Then I forget I dropped Joe Mixon. And then Joe Mixon's going off 2-3 weeks later. He has like 2 touchdowns versus the Patriots. When I was watching that game, I'm like, oh yeah, I know I got Joe Mixon on my fantasy team. Let me go check how I'm doing because I kind of forgot. And then I go and look, and Joe Mixon is on the other team that I'm playing. And I'm like, what? What the F? How is he on that team? I forgot I dropped him. And then Kyler beat me because Joe Mixon went off that game versus the Patriots, and he beat me by 1 point because of Joe Mixon.
Oh, my God.
And then since then, I haven't looked at my team. No. Well, it was the week before I lost by 1 point. See, I'm not a fantasy guy. I'm the reality guy, man. I get it done in real life.
That's a bad beat.
It is.
I had a bad beat with going against Sam. First off, I dropped Mike Evans. I thought his hamstring was a lot worse than what it is, and I fully fucked that up. And once again, Kyler, who's
fucked it up just like how I fucked up the Joe Mixon.
What do they call it? He's a waiver wire guy.
Yeah.
He just sits there and is. Do we even work?
He's suspended.
I can't believe. Does this guy work? I leave him for 2 weeks.
He's not joining the league next year.
I know. We're gonna get him out. I'm gonna commission him out.
He's cut.
So I had a bad beat. I was playing Sam, and my team was dominating. Saquon had his big day, and there's I had Sam. I had what's his name? Hubert on the Panthers. Chuba Hubbard. I had Chuba Hubbard, and I had like 16 points to spare. And Lamar and Sam had Lamar Jackson only left or something. And like I win with 16 points, and then that Lamar had that late run thing, the late run touchdown in garbage time. He ends up getting hella points for that. And then Chuba Hubbard fumbles, so he gets 1 point more than me because I got the 3-point deduction from it. I'm like, what the fuck? It was such a bad beat.
Bad beat.
I can't even make it in the playoffs, I don't think.
It's okay.
Now,
at least you'll have a win this week.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I'm hoping.
I got a question. How often did fans bring up fantasy football to you, Jules, when you were playing?
Dude.
Because we were in the era when like fantasy football started getting like
huge.
Like huge. I'm talking like it was taking football to a whole nother level. The ladies were starting to get involved and into football as well
100%.
Because of fantasy football. Kids, parents, everyone. Football was just becoming the nature of everyone's life because of fantasy football. And it started blowing up right when we started blowing up in the league as well. So how often did people bring it up to you?
Anytime I wasn't in Massachusetts and I went to a different city. So, you go to like Miami or you go somewhere. Everyone would always say, man, I had you on PPR. Thanks, man. Thanks. You helped me out, man, this year. So like I would hear it all the time, like, but it'd always be a PPR thing because I was a high catch guy. So that's what I found out about that. So I would hear.
What can you explain what PPR means?
Points per game, points per reception. Don't even know. Still getting used to this fantasy thing. What about you, Rob? You had to hear it all the time.
All the time, Jules, especially after my second year in the league when I was just winning fantasy rosters left and right, baby, and people were making big money off of me, and my Venmo account was freaking filled up because people were like, I won my fantasy league. I think you deserve $10. Here you go. And
Did you really give out your Venmo account?
No, just people would think it's me, which it was me, and they would just send it over to me as well. And my Venmo account would just be stacking up a little bit, but I'm sure how many fake Rob Gronkowski Venmo accounts out there were getting donations to it as well. So whoever was running the fake ones, God bless you. You're welcome.
I didn't have Venmo at that time in my life. What the
was
fuck?
Venmo there? It was something, man. Venmo was around in 2012. That's when it just started as well. So I probably got like an extra $1,000 in my account just from random people sending me $10, $25.
That is fucking
hey, thank
insane.
you. You won me my fantasy league, even though it's there's 10 guys or 8 guys on the roster, and it takes a whole team to win your fantasy. But hey, I appreciate it. But I was dominating. But also, if I had some bad games, man, if you looked at your Twitter mentions, people were coming at you, man. Fans were coming at you. And then that's when you go in defense mode and you're like, yo, I'm just a team player. I don't care that, I didn't have any catches. We won the game. Like, you think I really care about my catches when we won the game? That's what it's all about. But then if you have a great fantasy day, you're like, I did it for my fans. I did it for you guys. I did it for your fantasy roster. So you guys always play the game as well.
Which one you going to take? Dude, Rob, you must have had like crazy what was Rob's regular what's his best fantasy year? Let's look at it.
I mean, I know him back in my mind, bro. I mean,
it had to be the 2011 season.
It was the 2011 season when I broke all the tight end records. I was breaking records.
90 receptions.
I led the league in touchdown receptions that year as well. I led the league in fantasy points. So, I was on fire, baby. That was a breakout year for me in real life and fantasy life, baby. Let me think. I think I had 330.9 points that year.
That's a lot. Is that
right?
That's a massive amount of points. 330.9. 90 receptions, 1,300 yards, 1,327, 17 touchdowns.
Yeah, but actually it was 18 touchdowns because one of my touchdowns, I was lined up in the backfield because I can do it all, on the football field, and I accidentally bubbled too much, so I was behind Brady. So Brady threw it to me.
I remember that.
I caught it, and I ran it in, actually, for the touchdown. And 13 touchdowns was held for the most ever touchdowns by a tight end by Vernon Davis. I had 13 at the moment. That was my 14th touchdown. The whole crowd was going crazy. I got a standing ovation. My second year in the league, I'm just 22 years old. Matt Light's busting my ball. Sit down, young buck. You're not that great, which I love Matt Light, which was great. And then later that game, I got the whole standing ovation for beating the most touchdowns ever by a tight end in the history. And then later that day, it got ruled that it was a run.
Rushing.
So the record went back down. So I was only tied with Vernon Davis at 13 tight ends. So I actually had 1 rushing touchdown that year as well. So I had 18 total touchdowns. Get that right, man. It's fantasy football.
What the hell?
Rushing and receiving touchdowns count.
So that's 336 if it's rushing?
No, I'm sure the rushing touchdown
included.
It was included with the point total, I would say. It was about 3 yards. It was versus the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, I remember.
It was 3 touchdown game that game, actually. I had 2 reception and one rushing touchdown. So I'm 1 for 1 in my career in rushes, Jules. I know you've had plenty of rushes, plenty of reverses.
I was a reverse guy.
Behind the backfield. And how many touchdowns do you have rushing in your career?
I would say my best fantasy. I don't know my rushing touchdown.
No, you don't?
No.
I thought you would know your stats better. You're Jules.
I don't know.
You're the
my
nut house.
I really don't know my stats.
What was your best fantasy year?
Well, I have it right in front of me. So it says 2019, 150.4 total PPR points, 100 receptions, 1,117 yards, and 6 touchdowns.
All right.
Is that a lot of points?
So
nah.
So you had 10 more receptions than me and only half the amount of points. Why is that, Jules?
Because
Why is that?
You score touchdowns, I convert third downs.
And that's why we're a team. And that's why we're winners, because we knew our role and we all did our role and we all shut up and we didn't complain.
Oh, I complain sometimes.
I know, but it sounded good. It sounded good, okay? And I complained when
I
Tom
remember-
didn't throw me the ball in the red zone and it went to someone else. I was like, Tom, this is where I shine, brother, in the red zone. Like, yeah, don't throw it to me in the open field. I'm never going to complain that.
No.
I never complained ever to Tom if we were within like the 20s. But when we got to the red zone and I was open and I felt like he could have thrown me the ball, Tom, what? I would get back to I was open. I was open, Tom. And he'd be like, oh, shit. Like, I never seen Gronk mad. Well, when you get to the red zone, you don't throw it to me. I'm going to get mad, brother. But
The Hulk. That's when Bruce Banner, when he gets up into that 20 and in, fucking Rob turns into Hulk. He fucking turns. Hey, we got to start a points per first down league.
hold on.
PPL.
I got one more story real quick, too, about fantasy football because it was becoming big. So we were at Mohegan Sun. I'm not sure if you were on the trip or not. It was about to be before the playoffs. It was actually, I think it was my second year. And some chick comes up to me. And she's like, oh, my God. Like, it was just, we were young. So it was the coolest thing. She's like, oh, my God, you're on my fantasy team. And I looked at her in front of everyone and I go, you want me to make your fantasy a reality? Yeah. And I said it, in my ways. At 22 years old, I was tipsy. And she's like, yeah, I do. And I had the whole room laughing, and then from there, nothing actually happened. I just sounded really good to tell that story. But, and then I didn't, me, I just started dancing too hard that I danced myself home and nothing went on from there.
It's just,
Yeah. But it worked.
Was it? That
It
was
worked.
that's.
It worked. That pickup line worked. And that's all I cared about. That's when I knew I scored. I already hit a home run. The pickup line worked. Everyone laughed about it, so I was good. I didn't need to do anything from there.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Classic. Well, let's jump in. Let's jump into our first fantasy dude. Guy that
let's
kills
do
it
it.
in fantasy.
He sure does.
Should we start with the AI reading?
Yeah, the synopsis report.
Synopsis is on this
right,
guy.
here
What
we
do we
go.
got?
All right, this dude stands at 5 foot 11 inches and weighing 210 pounds. Jules, what are you?
5'10", 198.
So that just puts into perspective, this guy is beefy.
He's thick.
He's thick. He's a versatile running back for the San Francisco 49ers.
Oh,
But he was drafted by the Carolina Panthers with the
Oh.
8th overall pick in 2017.
Top 10
Known for his dual threat capabilities, he excels as both a runner and receiver, becoming one of 3 players to record 1,000 rushing and 1,000 receiving yards in the same NFL season. Jules, can you name the other 2 players that did that? I'm just questioning you right now. 1,000-yard receiving and 1,000 yards rushing. Go. Only 3 players in history. This guy's one of them. Name the other 2.
Marshall Faulk.
Yes.
And then who is the other one?
Come on. You know who he is.
Roger Craig?
Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner, baby.
Oh my God. Let's go.
All right.
1,000 club.
He was named the 2023 NFL Offensive Player of the Year and has been a key figure in the 49ers offense.
He's the only figure in that offense right now.
Well, I mean, actually, he's really not in the offense right now.
Right now, he's not.
I mean, it kind of sucks because
Sucks.
it's great when he's in the lineup,
Yeah.
but he's not right now, so it's kind of crappy for all the San Francisco 49er fans
Yeah,
out there.
it's bad.
He's originally from Castle Rock, Colorado.
Colorado.
Dang, that's what makes him so strong. He's a rock.
He's a rock.
Yeah.
And he's probably high altitude. Grew up in high altitude.
Dude, actually, the
Lungs.
high altitude, everyone that I know that train in the high altitude, they're absolute animals and never get tired.
Thin blood.
I'm jealous.
Thin oxygen up there.
I'm going to go train.
We did that in Montana
Colorado.
a few times. Remember how hard
Yeah.
it would be?
I never went to the Montana trips. All right, back to the synopsis. He played college football at Stanford where he was a Heisman Trophy finalist.
Heisman Trophy finalist.
Guess who beat him that year?
Baker Mayfield?
Nope, Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry?
Yes. Wow. He is a perennial first overall draft pick in fantasy football, amassing 471.2 points in a single fantasy PPR season, second most of all time. Julian, who are we talking about?
Christian McCaffrey.
Mm-hmm. Absolute freak show on the field, can do it all. 1,000-yard reception season, 1,000-yard rushing season, only been 2 other times. One of the other guys possibly we should be talking about if he had 1,000-yard receiving yards as well and 1,000 rushings, but we'll get to it. We'll see who else we have later on. But this guy right here, absolute savage when the ball is in his hands. What I really love about him is that he kind of creates his own holes because he's so good at cutting.
Yeah.
That's what makes him stand out from any other player, any other running back that's, in the game right now or was in the game and that are legends, because Christian McCaffrey's on his way to be a legend if he can just stay healthy and keep producing the way that he's producing. But he just can cut so quick and he's so elusive with the cut and makes it look so harmless and so easy that kind of opens up holes for him. And I actually talked about it on Fox, and that's what I said about him. I was like, hey, look at him go when he came back this year for a couple of the games. When he cuts, he opens up and draws a lane, and he goes right through the hole because of what he's doing. And then Howie Long after was like, really? He's really doing that, actually. And we looked at some film, and he would be going this way, and the way that he cut over to the left, there was all of a sudden a lane because of the way that he cut and the way that the defenders were moving and just how freaking gravity works when someone's going, or what's it called when you're in motion going that way? And then
inertia?
Inertia.
Inertia.
And then it would just cause him to have his own hole, and he would just burst right through that hole then because he just has so much explosiveness. And I believe that's what makes him such a great running back, is that he can create his own lane.
I mean, that explosiveness comes from his grandpa. His grandpa was like a Olympic sprinter. His mom's played at Stanford, soccer player. Dad's Ed McCaffrey. I mean,
how many years did Ed McCaffrey play in the NFL?
I think he played 12 years in the league, won 3 Super Bowls, one with the Niners, 2 with the Broncos. I used to love Ed McCaffrey. He used to cut out his shoes. He was like a grinder receiver. And this guy, like, he was born into this. He's got the gene makeup, which is crazy because his other brothers that played in the league, I think he has one right now at the Commanders.
Wide receiver.
Yeah. He had another one as well that's coaching now. I think they're like taller like Ed, and Christian's like just a shit brick house, like a ball of muscle, just 5 foot. You see him, his like off-season training and stuff, he does all like the track workouts, and you see his explosiveness and his movement, and like he works all that shit, and he just looks like a sprinter.
He does.
But doesn't play like a sprinter. He's an elite football player because he has, like you were saying, he's got great vision. He can recognize over pursuit, put his foot in the ground, cut back, and then he has the explosiveness to cut through the traffic. He's also great out of the backfield. We always talk about how good he is as a receiver. I mean, and he's pretty much the focal point to the San Francisco 49ers. They go off of him because of his versatility, because of his effectiveness in the run game. Like, he's really great at that, but you can also line him up anywhere, so you can play the personnel game against defense. And like, he's what makes him go. It's been tragic to see his year this year with his injuries and the Achilles and all that, and it's hurt the San Francisco 49ers.
Tremendously. And then also talking about his family and just how legendary of athletes his whole entire family is. His mom also played at the University of Stanford and played soccer there. And that's probably what led him to go to the University of Stanford as well.
Smart guy.
Yeah. I was just going to say that guy just doesn't have athletic ability. Obviously, he's smart as well. I mean, I think Stanford's the Harvard of the West Coast. Isn't that correct? That's what I've heard from others. I mean, I'm an East Coaster, so I only know about Harvard.
I grew up right there.
But I only learned about Stanford once I got into the Pac-10 when I went to the University of Arizona. But Stanford was a school I would never be going to, Jules. Same with Harvard.
I think that's bullshit. I think you could.
I could if I really tried, but I didn't really have school smarts. There's difference between school smarts and street smarts, Jules.
Yeah.
I didn't really care to know that I knew the whole entire dictionary or history book. Like, it wasn't just my forte.
But because you didn't care about it.
That's right. Good point.
Because if you cared about it, I
got into Stanford.
I mean, I've seen you practice.
Jules. I appreciate that.
You studied pretty hard.
Thank you, man.
We'll come into this, and Rob will come with his little notepad and shit. Look at his voice apps. He's been taking notes for the guys that we're doing. Like, when you care about something, you work hard. He's had some crazy games. He was like the first player to go run for a touchdown, throw for a touchdown, and catch a touchdown since LT did it, which is crazy. He's just Mr. Versatile.
I mean, he had the third most scrimmage yards in a single season in NFL history. I mean, the fantasy points this guy was throwing up, he was winning fantasy games for individuals, you know, just by himself.
A 471,
You know?
in comparison to you had a 430. What do you have, a 330?
I mean, it was the second best season of all time that he had, you know, when he went, you know, for all those yards. What was it, last year in San Francisco? That year, it was the second best fantasy season in all of football after LT, after his year in 2006. So
2019.
I mean, this guy is, like you said, he has great vision. He's super strong, so it's hard to take him down just one-on-one. I mean, a defensive tackle can take him down one-on-one, but when a linebacker or a safety comes at him, he can make him miss very easily, and also they just bounce right off of him too if he has his balance on, if he's not, you know, coming off of a, you know, 1 foot step or something or getting hit. So it's very hard to tackle him. Great receiving back as well. I mean, like I said, he was strong. Yeah, and no one can take him down one-on-one. A defensive tackle could, but he would probably make a defensive tackle miss if they were coming after him. Solid after the contact, obviously. That's what makes him strong. You know, he's a strong player. That's what makes that elite, you know. And he's a grinder. No doubt about that. Loves to work out. Loves to have that. Man. Yeah, the off-season workouts he's been doing.
He looks like a fucking Greek god.
And he makes sudden movements as well. That sudden step, very decisive. That's what makes you a great running back. That's what makes you great going through the holes, and that's just what makes you a great football player, is just being sudden and decisive, and that's what he is.
Rob.
Yeah.
So what if Brian Daboll was like your babysitter?
Brian Daboll?
Yeah.
He was my babysitter. He was my coach for 3 years. He babysat me every freaking meeting in practice.
I'm just saying. What if he was your babysitter when you were like 11 or 12? How much smarter of a football player do you think you'd be?
Dude, I'd be a genius, because Brian Daboll was a genius as well as engraving football into your body and loved talking football. I would have been the smartest player probably in history if I had Brian Daboll as my babysitter growing up.
What if Kyle Shanahan was your babysitter? You'd probably be Christian McCaffrey.
Exactly.
So smart.
Well, that is why. So Brian Daboll babysitting me if I was growing up is like,
that's what I'm saying.
Kyle Shanahan was
freaking
CMC's babysitter growing up as a kid.
Well, because, you know, Ed McCaffrey played for the Broncos, won 2 Super Bowls with them. Mike Shanahan, coach. Son, Kyle Shanahan, ball boy, probably hanging around with all the athletes and stuff. Wow. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
I mean, so he's got football in his blood. I mean, he's got specimen in his blood. He's got football in his blood. I mean, he's had the hype his whole life, and he's always surpassed the hype. Also, you know, like, it's not just him. He has his brother who plays for the Commanders. What's his name? He's got Luke. He's got Luke McCaffrey that plays with the Commanders. I mean, how cool is it to have a brother in the National Football League? But, you know, you were the Christian type brother, because, you know, and then, you know, because
I was the baller.
Well, there's superstars,
I know what you
and then
mean.
there's NFL players.
Yes.
You know, and then how do you think your younger brother feels?
Actually, I love my younger brother. He's great.
But like, do they always like? But what do they think about? Like, you're the Gronk. You're there's like little. My daughter knows you as the Gronk. And like, you're the youngest brother. Like, how does that?
Well, first off,
if you're the superstar brother, how do you treat the younger brother?
Well, first off, it wasn't even about that. It was just super cool to even have a brother in the league, and I actually had 3 brothers in the league. Yeah. Dan and Chris, they're my older brothers. And I played with Dan in New England for like a couple games during that second year that I had the fantasy year as well. My best fantasy football season ever, and actually best fantasy football season ever by a tight end as well. So my brother Dan played with us for a little bit, and then Chris actually played fullback. He played for the Broncos, the Chargers, and also the Cowboys and Colts. You know, he played about 3.5 years. No, he was not on practice squad. So that's the only one I didn't play with. And Glenn, who's younger than me, 4 years younger than me, he was on the practice squad for us for 1 year. He started on the Bills. Actually, he got cut at the beginning of the year. I think after the first or second game that we picked him up on the practice squad, and he was a kind of an all-purpose H-back. You know, he could play fullback. He could go out in the slot, you know, position, and he was a great, you know, practice squad player for us, and was actually ready at any time to get called up. But he was on the practice squad that year that we beat the Atlanta Falcons in the Super Bowl. So my youngest brother has a ring But dude, let me tell you, it was the coolest experience having my brothers on the team, and not just even having them on the team, just to have them in the NFL, man. It just makes you that much bigger of a fan of the NFL because you're just paying so much attention and detail to what your brother's doing because you want him to be successful. You want him to have success. And you're going to tune into him because it just makes it that much more special to know that you know that person and you just don't know him. It's your freaking brother. It's your family member. So super cool, man. It's the best. It's the best.
Do you remember like when you guys were kids dreaming about being in the NFL? And then do you ever remember a specific time? I wonder if they think about that as well. You know what I mean? Because there's a time when you guys are all playing football in the backyard where, there's no rules. You're just tackling each other, but you're like, did you guys have that?
100%, dude. We always dreamed about making it to the NFL. And actually, when
cool.
you're in the backyard, you were never like your own person. You were never yourself. You were always that guy that you looked up to. So I loved Eric Moulds, bro. So like Eric Moulds, wide receiver, Buffalo Bills. So like every time I split out wide, like in the backyard, I'd be like, Eric Moulds coming at you, baby. I'm about to score. And then I catch you a big Eric Moulds, baby. I'm Eric Moulds. Here I come for you. You're never yourself. When growing up as a kid, you were always your hero, which was always cool.
I mean, you guys are kind of the same. You had an Olympic grandfather that was like a bicyclist.
Yeah, he was a bicyclist. Yeah, that's what it was.
He's right here.
Yeah. Oh, where? So he actually, speaking about it, because the Olympics were 100 years ago in Paris when he actually participated in that cycling, year in the Olympics. And that was 100 years ago because the Olympics were in Paris again this year, 2024. So it became a big story that my great-grandfather was in the Olympics in 1924 as a cyclist. He ended up in 45th place, actually. And now I found out why. Because the French cheated. They made him change his bike. They said his bike wasn't legal in 1924. The bike he's been training on, the bike he's been riding with, they made him switch out his bike, and the French gave him a bike to ride on in 1924 that he's never ridden on before in his life, or else he would have gotten freaking first place. They knew this world could not handle the Gronkowski name becoming that big time in 1924. So therefore, the French dethorned him.
Putain.
And gave him a bike that wasn't working. I swear the tires were flat.
In French, so
the tires were flat.
Bullshit.
But yeah, we go way back, just like the McCaffrey family.
Wow.
So what is McCaffrey, Jules? Come on now. Let's categorize him.
Being around the Broncos organization as a kid, you got the picture with Shannon Sharp, Uncle Shannon.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that had to be so cool.
Definitely. I mean, it was just in CMC's DNA, just growing up, just the culture that was around him as well. His family, his dad was in the NFL. Then, Christian sitting on Shannon Sharp's lap. I mean, he just saw it growing up. He saw what it took. And that's when Christian McCaffrey kind of knew he was going to make it to the NFL because he was already so much better than, everyone as well. And at 7 years old, what did he do again that just kind of just blew up now that's always talked about?
7 years old.
7 years old.
Remember, what did he do?
He freaking scored a touchdown.
In the mascot game?
In the mascot game.
Against with a little kid?
As a little kid. He already knew he was going pro. He's around all the pro players already.
Yeah.
He's dominating on the field as just a Pop Warner.
He scored a touchdown on these guys.
Yes.
And he pulled out wait.
Come on. What did he do? Come on, Jules. You know what he did.
He pulled the Sharpie out and signed it. He did the TO.
He did the TO before TO did the TO.
No, it's probably TO did it and then he did it.
No, he did it. It was
what year is this? And
2003. TO did it like way after 2000.
No way.
Really?
I think TO did it in like 90.
When did TO do it? Oh, so he did the TO after TO. But all right. I mean, to do that as a 7-year-old kid,
he still runs the same.
You know what that makes you? Makes you a beast.
Does anyone have that ball?
Does
anyone have the signed ball?
That was a quick signature though. And then he just tossed it into the stands.
Wow. He was bred to do it. He was bred to do it. All right. Time.
All right. So what kind of dude is Christian McCaffrey? I mean, after watching that clip as a 7-year-old kid, I kind of already know what he is, man. There's no doubt about it in my mind.
In his blood, he's got the pedigree, Heisman finalist, freaking all-time fantasy guy, top 2. I mean, he was supposed to do what he's doing. He's a fucking stud.
He is a stud. Only a stud whips out that marker at 7 years old.
7 years old,
and
does
signs
a
the
TO.
football and just tosses it into the stands.
Confidence, though. You see the confidence in the kid?
Knowing you're going to go pro.
He
even,
didn't.
even
He wasn't
at that
like.
age.
He wasn't John. He was like very professional of him.
Mm-hmm.
It was a professional freaking TO celebration toss.
Mm-hmm.
On 3, what is he? 1, 2, 3. Stud. All right. Hey, everyone. Julian Edelman here. There's no better time to enjoy live events. I've had my eyes on NFL playoff tickets, and there's always Bruins and Celtics games for when you're itching to get out of the house and catch some action. That's why I want to give a huge shout out to the sponsor of today's show, SeatGeek. With over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. They've got more than 70,000 events listed, from concerts and sports to festivals and more. You name it, they've got it. The best part? SeatGeek has your back. Every ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know you're getting a good deal. Just look at the green dots. Green means good and red means bad. And every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee, so you're set. And you know I came through for you guys. You can use DUDES10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with promo code DUDES10. Make sure to click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thank you, SeatGeek. I'll see you out there. Let's get on
to our next guy. The synopsis of...
What does AI got to say about him?
Let me tell you, Julian. Let me tell you something. We've kind of already brought up his name once or twice just to give you a clue who it is. For all you wonderful fans out there that want to take a guess.
Little trivia.
On who is next. But this dude is a former NFL running back who stood at 5 foot 10 inches and weighed 215 pounds.
That's thick, too.
He played for the San Diego Chargers from 2001 to 2009 and the New York Jets from 2010 to 2011. He was born in Rosebud, Texas.
Rosebud, Texas.
Where he attended Texas Christian University.
TCU.
Also known
Marcus
as
Cannon, the Frogs.
TCU. He was selected by the San Diego Chargers with the 5th overall pick in 2001.
These running backs get drafted high back then.
Back then they were, man. Oh, back then the running back was the jewel position, man. Everyone wanted to be a running back. It was the golden charm boy to be a running back.
Golden Charm Boy.
Yeah, if you know what I mean.
I don't, but I like
Lucky Charms. But the golden Lucky Charms.
Luck of the Irish. Lucky Charms.
He notably set the record for most touchdowns in a single season with 31 in 2006.
31 touchdowns.
Yes.
That's a lot.
That's about 2 per game. That's about 1.95 touchdowns per game.
Okay, so
because there's 16 games.
See, you can't go to
16 times 2 is 32 touchdowns, but then he didn't have 32 at 31, so it was kind of like he had 1.9 touchdowns a game.
So you go.
So what happened is one game he only scored 1 touchdown.
I think Gronk could code.
The same season in which he was named the league MVP was in 2006 when he had 31 touchdowns. He was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2017. And throughout his career, he was a highly sought-after player in fantasy leagues. He holds the record for points in a single fantasy PPR season with 481 points. Julian, who are we talking about, ladies and gentlemen?
LaDainian Tomlinson.
And what do you think of when you hear of the name, the legend, LaDainian Tomlinson, Jules?
What do I think of? I think of...
Hold on, let me answer this question. I think of the San Diego Chargers and why they're still not in San Diego and why they are in Los Angeles sharing a stadium with the freaking whatever other team, with the Rams, when they can be in San Diego still. Because when I think of LT, I think of San Diego and how he put that city on the map.
Dude, he really did. I think of just swaggy. I think of his dark visor. I remember as a little kid doing the touchdown dance. Like, he scored so many touchdowns. It just seemed like he scored 2 or 3 touchdowns every game. Like, and he literally did. Everyone was an LT fan.
I mean, how could you not be an LT fan? I mean, he was so elusive on the field. Like he was the guy that made you jump off of your seat, even if you weren't a San Diego Chargers fan, even if your team was facing his team, it didn't matter. You appreciated who LT was out on the football field. And what's so great about him is that he was so good in the passing game as well. He never had 1,000-yard rushing season and 1,000-yard
low-key pass game guy.
receiving, season. But like you said, he was super low-key in that. And he had these two routes that kind of made him the player that he was in the receiving game. Yeah, we all know him as the rusher and how he made everyone miss. Yeah. He had a solid stiff arm. He always kept his feet moving as well after he got hit. So that's kind of what made him break the tackle every single time, is that when you keep your feet moving, well, he was like the guy that did that the best. But what made him super special in the receiving game was that he had this seam route out of the backfield. That I know you've seen it before.
We were watching it. We had like 8 of them.
And somehow Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers would find him every time going up that seam route. It was a mismatch every time he would go versus that linebacker or that safety that was supposed to be covering him. But then also right off of it, he had another route that would branch off of the seam.
He countered it.
He countered it. And that's why it kept all these guys guessing. He was so quick, too, at planting his foot and breaking out of the seam that no one can get him on the angle route either. So it's kind of like you thought he was going to run up the seam, run up the hash, and boom. He was planting his foot, and he would just angle right across the field, and boom, the quarterback would just dump it to him. It was just an easy 10 to 15 yards or possibly a touchdown, because every time LT touched the ball, it could possibly be a touchdown because he was that great. But that's what made him great in the passing game, I feel like, because of those two routes right there.
100%. He also had a fucking insane stiff arm. You saw him stiff arm a lot, guys to the ground. You had a great stiff arm. Rob, what's the key to a great stiff arm? I wasn't a good I had short arms. I could never get my goddamn arm out there. I couldn't stiff arm. I've seen you stiff arm guys to the ground. I've seen him stiff arm guys to the ground. How do you stiff arm a guy to the ground?
Well, Jules, being stiff is always great. I can tell you that, man. It works in all aspects of life, especially on the football field. Oh, man. You want to be stiff 2 times in your life, and it's kind of contradicting itself, because one is you're marrying a woman. That's the night you want to be stiff, on your wedding night. And the other time you want to be stiff is when 11 guys are chasing you, which kind of contradicts about being stiff and when to be stiff. But the key to a great stiff arm is just feeling yourself, feeling strong at the moment, man. Just freaking feeling like no one can take you down, and having that right angle at the defender. I mean, if he's too close to you, you can't stiff arm him. It has to be timed up perfectly. I've had a couple good stiff arms in my career, but it's because it times up perfectly where you can just reach out and boom, you can hit the guy. If he's too close to you or too far away, you got to be able to time it up perfectly. Yeah. But LT was so special that he could time up that stiff arm at the perfect time every time, so he could get the guy off of him so he couldn't tackle him. So that's what makes LT so great. The timing of the stiff arm and the angle of it as well. That's what makes a great stiff arm.
Yeah, I guess I didn't have good timing.
Yeah.
Or short arms.
I don't think you've ever had a stiff arm, did you?
I didn't really have any stiff arms.
No.
I had one maybe in Buffalo.
Yeah.
But it was more the guy was down, and I was stiff arming myself to propel myself.
But we're talking about a stiff arm, but what I loved about him as well is that he's just a shiver, man, out on the field, man. He shivered every defender and made them just fall straight on their face every game. At least 1 or 2 defenders every single game. He protects the ball well.
I don't remember him fumbling.
Mm-hmm. And another thing that I loved about him that you love too is that he loved going airborne on the goal line.
Dude.
Talk about that, Jules. And talk about, as a fan, like how you just love to see that.
Well, he used to do the jump man all the time. And I remember when we would install, it would be like something jump. Like we would throw on footage of LT jumping because he knew the perfect timing on when to jump, how to jump, the angle to jump, the direction to jump. And he was explosive as fudge. So like, it was just crazy.
I'm hungry.
We were watching all his highlights, and we watched his top 60 play. He had like 6, 7, 8 of these kind of touchdowns. I mean, it wasn't like it was a one-time thing. There used to be a play where LT jumped over fucking pile, it was fucking remarkable to watch.
This guy was so good at scoring as well. I mean, obviously he would get yards, first downs, he would move the ball, but this guy was also obviously what makes you the greatest fantasy football player is that you got to score points. You got to get in the end zone because you can have 5 carries for 50 yards, but that's still only like 5 points. 1 touchdown's like whatever, 7 points or however the scoring goes in fantasy. Every league's different, but this guy had 4 touchdown games in his career. I don't think that's ever been done by any other player, but to have 4 touchdowns a game, I never even had a 4 touchdown game.
You had 4 3-touchdown games.
I did have 4 3-touchdown games.
Those.
Have we ever had a game where we combined for 4 touchdowns in our career?
I don't know.
I don't think so. That just shows how
this game,
great LT was.
Dude,
Did you have a
I had a 2-touchdown game.
Versus
I had
who?
a bunch of couple. I had 2 against Denver, 1 against Miami.
Well, I can't recall these situations,
I
Jules.
can't either.
Maybe if we did have one, if we did have a combined 4 touchdowns, it only happened once.
He had how many?
Maybe twice in our career, and he had 5 4-touchdown games. So just imagine how many 3-touchdown games he had. Imagine how many
He had 3 of them
2-touchdown
in 1
games
year.
he had as well.
3 of them
my
in
gosh.
1 year. Oh my God, back to back.
Also, he has the most consecutive games with a touchdown as well with
I remember
18. He's tied with Lenny Moore.
Yeah. You remember, I remember watching ESPN. They'd always have the LT update when we were kids. You know, you get the Sports Center. It was kind of like when Barry Bonds and Mark McGuire were in that home run race. They had always, like, with LT, and he was on so many touchdowns, they had that, like, LT fucking race thing for the record. He got it, right? It was crazy. 31 touchdowns.
31 touchdowns.
You
bro.
ever meet LT?
I never met LT before, man. Actually, I know. I don't think I have, man. If I did, it was really quick in an event, but I don't think I did. Yeah, I never met him before, but I've only heard great things about him. And there's actually a key to his success.
What is
and
it?
you know about the key to his success because you worked with the guy that was the key to LT's success, who's
he's
now the key to Tom Brady's success, or not now, but was the key to Tom Brady's success. He was the guy, that kept everyone healthy out on the field. You know who I'm talking about.
Alex
Jules.
Guerrero.
AG, baby.
AG. This is.
Yes.
I think
Before
he-
AG was known, he was working on guys. Before he ever even met Tom Brady, AG was doing his work, that he was born to do. And he kept LT healthy throughout all of his years. That LT gave AG a shout out in his Hall of Fame speech. And LT, from what I recall, never suffered a serious injury in the game of football because of the work that AG does. So that just shows
Longevity.
Longevity. If you take care of your body, if you get someone it's football. You're going to get bruises. You're going to have scar tissue build up. You got to get that worked out. And LT was one of the few that understood that. And he was lucky to have a guy like AG. So LT can go throughout his whole career healthy. So shout out to AG for keeping one of the greatest running backs of all time healthy, baby.
Yeah, I remember at AG always used to talk about him, like LT McCardinal, or who's the receiver?
Keenan McCardell.
Kean McCardell. I know.
Who had a long
too,
career and had longevity as well.
Dude, you got to have the body guy. And I mean, LT, he was fucking healthy, running back. He didn't miss relatively many games. I mean, I actually tackled him, and I think I hurt him.
I was actually going to bring that up, Jules, because I have a bone to pick with you because he played for the New York Jets his last 2 years. He was so-so on those last 2 years with the Jets. I mean, unbelievable.
He still made plays.
But that was the year that you were on defense playing whatever position you played on defense. You were all over the place. No, you were all purpose on defense.
I was star.
Because you were a star, Jules.
No, but I was nickel.
That's why. Yeah, no, you're a star. You're not nickel. You're a dime, if anything. Yeah,
I actually did play dime.
You're a dime and you're a star in my book, okay? Nickel, that's a guy like Amendola. His head's getting too big from Dancing with the Stars. I want to knock him down now. He thinks he's a dime, but he's a nickel.
No, he's a dime.
No, he's a nickel. His head's getting big, okay? He's a nickel.
He's a Dancing with the Star.
He is. You're right. He's a true star, actually. But so you tackled him a few times. What was that like, and why did you do what you did to him, bro? Why?
Yeah,
It's LT. We love LT. Why'd you do that?
I think I tore his MCL, and I think it was his last play. I think it was. Sad.
It is sad, bro. It is sad.
It's crazy. that was my first game I played DB. They put me in the meetings that week. I didn't think I was actually going to play that week. And then I think we were winning a bunch at the end, or we had a 10-point lead. So they wanted to see what I would look like. We had a cushion, and I went in and they gave a ball to LT, opened up the hole. I went to plug it, and I went low on him because I'm fucking going head up with goddamn LT. And I ended up taking his legs out. I think it was his last play. I felt terrible. I loved him as a kid. I was my guy.
LT, I agree with you. LT
I
was
think we talked about it once. I've met LT like at some kind of function.
And LT was so loved and respected by not just the fans, but everyone in the NFL, all the players, that everyone was sad. Even though we were facing the Jets and he was on the Jets, like I was sad that LT went down, and like other players were sad LT went down because he was such a legend. It's so cool that you tackled LT. Not so cool they got hurt on one of your tackles. I mean,
Yeah.
But that was your first game. You were just learning how to tackle. Like you can't blame you at all. It was a fair hit, fair play. But how cool, like, to say that you just even tackled LT, one of the greatest running backs, one of the
Never
best,
thought about it.
one of the most elusive running backs of all time too. Like that should be in your resume that you tackled LT, bro. And you're an offensive player. Like that's why it should be in your resume, because
I
like,
tackled
you
Shady
can brag
McCoy,
about
too.
that. Yeah.
I tackled Shady McCoy too. He jumped over me one time too. Fucking Shady.
Yeah. Shady. I love
went
Shady.
down to tackle him again. He
Shady's
jumped
great.
over me because I went and got him low.
Great locker room guy.
Oh,
All right. Also, so we already know that LT, all-purpose player, can do it all. But one thing we didn't talk about is just how good he was at throwing the ball as well. I mean, he has some passing stats that is probably better QBRs than some of these quarterbacks of this year in a game.
he got 7 touchdown passes.
8 for 12, 143 yards he has thrown for in his career, 7 touchdowns, and he has 146.9 rating as a QBR. I mean,
Damn good rating.
Sign him up right now. A lot of these
Damn
teams
good
are
rating.
hurting for a quarterback. God damn.
Damn good rating.
Well, Jules, he wasn't 6 for 6 like you. He doesn't have 100% completion percentage. You do.
Yeah,
And your rating was better too. Your rating was what, like 150? I'm a math guy, so like 158.3 rating. Am I right?
Some say that's perfect.
Also, you had 128 yards you threw for and 2 touchdowns.
Some say that is that a perfect rating?
You are a diamond in the star.
Some
to
would
me,
say
baby.
that's a perfect
That's
rating.
a perfect rating.
I don't know.
I always knew you were perfect, buddy.
Yeah, but
You're one dude that is just perfect.
no.
Yeah.
Perfect 10.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, he was also a monster in college. TCU, Horned Frogs.
Oh, he's horny.
Wait, he had a 400-yard game in college.
Oops, I just took
Did
that
he win the Heisman?
I took that the wrong direction.
Didn't win the Heisman. How is that?
Because
Chris Winkie.
Chris
He was
Winkie won the
27.
Heisman. I don't even know who Chris
Florida
Winkie
State.
is.
I remember him.
I don't.
Florida State.
But I also didn't watch football like that growing
He
up.
played
as a
for the
kid.
Carolina Panthers when he was like 30. He was like a rookie.
Well, what about his best game at TCU? I mean, it was ridiculous. It was better than video game numbers.
Yeah, he had 43 carries, 406 yards, and 6 touchdowns.
Ridiculous.
God.
He should have been number 1 overall. Who was drafted number 1 overall that year? In what, 2001 it was? Who was it?
Michael Vick.
Oh, all right. You can't argue that. Can't argue that.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe he shouldn't have been drafted number 1 then. Yeah, Vic was the man. What a class, though. Michael Vick is the running quarterback who started the running quarterback position, basically. And then you got LT, who freaking innovated the game as well. All right, Jules, we've been talking about LT for a little bit. What type of guy is LT?
I mean, he's had pedigree. He had almost the best single season fantasy. He had the best single season in fantasy for a pro. He had a 400-yard game as a college kid. I mean, he was drafted 4 overall.
4 touchdown games in
This
his career.
guy, he's got 5 of them.
So in 5 games, he scored 20 touchdowns. Put it that way.
That's, a lot.
It took me 16 games to score 18 touchdowns.
Yeah. This guy's a full-blown on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Stud. Athleticism, football IQ, moves, balance. He's a stud.
Always keeps his feet
Face
moving.
mask.
He just had that dark visor. It was
That's
kinda,
a stud. He's a stud. Stamp
Super
it.
stud.
Send it off in the mail. USPS. Bye-bye.
Let's get on to the next dude.
All right, next dude. Synopsis. Here we go.
What's AI have to say
Who's our
about
next
this
dude?
dude?
Well, I love dudes, man. Especially the first dude, and then the second dude is always a nice
I don't
dude.
know. This guy's got
and
my
now
heart.
The third dude has your heart.
This guy's
I
got my
love
heart.
Dudes. All right, here we go. This dude standing at 5 foot 10 inches and weighing 206 pounds was a versatile NFL running back. He was born in New Orleans, Louisiana. Hey, Julian, where's the Super Bowl this year?
New
A little
Orleans.
quick trivia. Okay.
New Orleans.
Okay. Is it New Orleans or is it New Orleans?
I think it's Nolans.
It's Nolans? Combining it?
I think that's like the
Nolans.
Frenchy way of saying, or like the
Nolans.
Creole.
We going to Nolans for the Super Bowl this year. We're going to be on TV for Fox doing the pregame show. Check us out at Nolans, baby. All right, back to the synopsis. All right, born in Nolans, Louisiana, he would go on to play college football at San Diego State, where he was a two-time All-American. He played for the Indianapolis Colts, your favorite team, Julian, from 1994 to 1998, and the St. Louis Rams from 1999 to 2005. The greatest show on turf he was sure part of. Actually, he was the show on turf, baby. He was drafted as the, little trivia, as the what? Just take a guess, 1 through 4.
2.
Ding, ding, ding. You are correct. He was drafted as the second overall pick in 1990, between 3 and 5.
4.
1994 NFL draft. That is correct. You're a genius, Jules. He was widely regarded. No wonder why you could play freaking defense and offense at the same time.
No way.
He was widely regarded as one of the greatest running backs in NFL history. And in your mind, he was.
I think he's the greatest of all time.
There we go. He has your heart. He was known for his speed, power, and ability to excel both as a rusher and a receiver. He was named NFL MVP in 2000, 3 Offensive Player of the Year awards, and a Super Bowl championship. He was elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2011, which was my fantasy football season that I dominated. So Marshall Falk and I, we have a connection. 2011, he went into the Hall of Fame. 2011, I had my best fantasy football season, baby. Oh, we on the same page.
So we're on to Marshall Falk.
Oh, oops. I gave it away. I'm so sorry. He is still regarded as one of the best fantasy football running backs of all time, but fantasy football wasn't even that big in the 90s and 2000s, but he's still regarded as one of the best. That's how good he was, Jules.
We're on to Marshall Falk.
Marshall Falk.
First thing that comes to mind when I think about Marshall Falk
is what, Jules? What comes to your mind?
Greatest show on turf.
He's the best running back of all time in your heart.
You watch Marshall Falk, he reminds you of Barry Sanders, and he also, he had the stop go. He was really good at cutting back. He had really great vision. He's bigger than what you thought. And then you throw in the pass game where he is the original. I mean, there's Roger Craig and those old West Coast, but he was like the original fucking personnel problem guy. Where he got 1,000. I think he did the 1,000. He did that one time, but he had a lot of 800, 900, 400, 500. He was a pivotal part of their pass game. He was great in the run game. And he didn't get hurt. He was healthy his whole career.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't miss games. That's unreal, especially how he played. I mean, he missed a game here or two, but he didn't have any significant time missage. So he's, I think, he's probably, because of that, this is a newer style of football of being someone that is using the pass game. It was super kind of not known when Roger Craig and those old 49ers and those Bills teams, those run and shoot teams and West Coast teams, it wasn't normal. After Marshall Falk, people were trying to make Marshall Falk. And then you get LTs, and then you get the Christian McCaffreys. It is because Marshall Falk, man, took it to a whole nother level.
I mean, I think he just, you were talking about how prolific of a player he was in sustainability. I think he just missed only 16 games in his 12 years of playing. And at the running back position, getting 30 plus carries a game, getting tackled that many times, and just to miss 16 games out of 12 seasons is just incredible. All those catches as well, running full speed downhill, a linebacker running full speed at you and getting blown up, and just still being able to be that sustainable and have that longevity is just out of control. And the synopsis, the AI also missed that he was a 7-time Pro Bowler. He was a 3-time All-Pro. You know, he was rookie of the year in 1994 as well. So right when he got on the scene, he was producing, man. He was not a bust at all. Obviously not a bust. We're talking about him as the greatest of all time, but he was producing right away. So he made that GM feel very good right from the beginning. Greatest show on turf. Obviously, that's what you think of him whenever you hear about him, which was one of the coolest, you know, names that you could be, you know, associated with in all of football. And what's great about Marshall Faulk and LT as well is that these guys were the running backs when the running back position was the absolute shit. Like, everyone wanted to be a running back growing up.
Best player.
Not really anymore, but this
coming back.
It's coming back. It is coming back.
Look at
but
all
this
the great
is
teams
era
right now.
where these guys, where everyone growing up, even if you were a defensive lineman, you still wanted to be a running back. I was a tight end. I wanted to be a running back because of these guys, LT and Marshall Faulk, baby.
No, without a doubt. Isn't it crazy to think he played with Peyton Manning?
Peyton Manning?
Yeah, he played.
Well, Peyton Manning old as shit too, though.
Yeah. No, but no one remembers him. Everyone forgets about how good of a Colt he was. He's got his jerseys in the rafters. He played 4 years there, and they retired his jersey. He was rookie of the year. His first game on the scene goes for 134, 3-touchdown debut. Like, that's crazy. He was a fucking machine. He hit you. He hit you with the run, long run, hit you out the backfield. Talk about seam route. We talked about seam route with LT. He ran seam routes. He ran post. I saw him run a bang a post from the outside, which is a real receiver route. He used to run real receiver routes. Now they always throw this running back can run routes like a receiver, which, you know,
which is rare. Like, you can tell when it's a running back that's split out wide, especially in this era.
Even now, a lot of guys, even the analysts will say this guy runs. He's got routes like a receiver.
But no,
not true.
No, that analyst is wrong.
Yeah,
Marshall Faulk though,
he had routes like a receiver.
Yes, he did.
He had routes like a receiver.
If you can run a post route, split out wide, and run a post route as a running back, that means you got routes like a wide receiver.
In cuts, out cuts, option routes.
The typical route for a running back right now, 5-yard hitch route. Freaking stutter, one step, turn around. What's that called again, real quick? Like the quick pass, you just step one, turn.
Screen?
Yeah, a little rip screen to you. They also a little
angles.
Under. And the angles and the seams out of the backfield. Marshall Faulk was running the whole entire freaking
route tree.
Yes, that's for sure.
I mean, in 1999, 1,300 yards rushing, 1,048 receiving. Chris Johnson broke his record in 2009, though, 2,500 yards. Man, I forgot how good Chris Johnson was.
Chris Johnson. CJ 2K, baby.
Yeah, he did. That was crazy that year.
Mm-hmm.
The 3-year run in St. Louis with the greatest show on turf, 1999 through 2001. He had 59 touchdowns, 6,756 yards of offense, and he won MVP in 2000. And a Super Bowl. That is an elite 3-year span.
No, that's a show, if you ask me. I mean, Marshall Faulk made playing on turf cool, even though playing on turf wasn't cool. Like, everyone wanted turf fields in high school because of Marshall Faulk and the greatest show on turf. But you get so bruised and banged up playing on turf that it was the worst idea ever to even step on turf.
And it was old turf. You know what's crazy? He was on old turf and he played that many games and didn't miss that many games.
That is crazy.
That is that's built differently.
You want to hear a little cool fun fact? Sean Payton was his running back coach at the San Diego State University when he was there playing running back.
How does a guy
That's crazy.
You know what it tells you? There's a lot of unscouted guys in Louisiana if he's going to San Diego State.
Well, talk about getting unscouted. He only had one offer.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, and it was to San Diego State.
That's what I mean. You get that's how much talent there is probably goes unseen in Louisiana.
I mean, you went unseen and you were California.
We got a lot of big people. It's a big
but you
state.
weren't that good in high school anyway.
I was pretty nice.
Yeah. But also his high school, they were kind of like a heavy passing offense as well. Like, they didn't really.
Okay.
But he must have not been that great in high school though, because if you're that great, you kind of like change from going to a heavy passing offense to like, yo, let's hand the ball off. Like, this guy's 100 times better. But like, he must have really burst onto the scene at San Diego State University, like once he got into college. Kind of like you, Jules, a little bit. Not everyone is a beast from the beginning.
Late bloomers, they call it.
Yeah,
late
I'm telling you this. it's better to be a late bloomer than an early bloomer.
How about
I can tell you that right now. It sucks to be the greatest as a young buck, and then you don't make it.
no? Yeah,
So late bloomers. I'm a late bloomer.
I think you just bloomed.
Yeah.
He sold popcorn at the Superdome as a kid. How crazy is that?
That is pretty crazy. But that's a lot of stories. That just shows his work ethic just as a
Yeah.
kid that's installed into him. And that's what makes you great. Like, I was a paper boy growing up, and I took that route personal, and I wanted to make sure everyone had that paper on their front porch when they woke up in the morning with the coffee in their hand, opening up the door. Like, the hard work and dedication was just installed into you as a young kid, and that's just like Marshall Falk selling popcorn at the Superdome. He wanted the job, and he wanted to get it done.
You ever have any crazy jobs as a kid?
I was a paper boy. I was also an umpire as a kid, and I cooked.
Let me see your strike
cooker.
3. Let me see your strike
Strike
3.
3, you out of here, mother trucker.
Did you used to ring these kids out? I used to umpire at college in Kent, and I used to ring up these kids all the time.
Oh.
I'd change it up. Certain kid, lefty. I mean, I got in a real pickle.
You sounded
once.
like a true pro right there. But that's you. You love you love the animated effects, and
Yeah.
you sounded like oh, you got me there. I just struck out over here with that strikeout
I would
signal.
over here to ring these little
Yeah.
kids up, send them home. Yeah, I got in a real pickle once.
Doing what? Let's hear it. I like pickles,
Yeah.
especially Angelica pickles. Rugrats. Do. No, she was mean actually. Yeah, that pickles was mean. All right, back to your pickle. Oh, Tommy Pickles too. Tommy Pickles was my favorite. Oh, pickle, like you're in baseball, like
Yeah,
you're getting a pickle.
like a
Oh, you're
pickle.
that type of pickle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Literally.
All right. That was my favorite. You ever play running bases growing up?
100%.
Yeah,
And this
it's all about being a pickle.
because kids love to play that game pickle. In this specific league, there was a rule where they couldn't the catcher couldn't sit and fake throw the ball at first. So like they had to throw it back, and the runner couldn't advance to try to eliminate pickle. So one time the kids are doing it, and all of a sudden I tell the catcher, I'm like, kid, throw it back to the pitcher. He ain't going nowhere. Well, he throws it back. The kid takes off, and I'm like, oh fuck. And so all of a sudden they throw it, and it goes over the kid's second baseman. The kid gets all the way to third. And all of a sudden, the coach is yelling at the catcher, why'd you throw it back? And the kid looks at me and he goes, the ump told me to throw it back. So I'm sitting there. I got this coach over here. There's another coach over there. And I'm like, yeah, you got to go back to first. All of a sudden, this coach comes out. I was like, what the hell is you talking about? He's on third. I was like, nah, he's got to go back. I told the kid to throw it back. You know the rule. We can't do that. And I almost had to get suspended as an umpire because this guy filed a report like, oh, this guy can't do it. So I'm sitting there, and this little kid, as soon as the pitcher comes back, and I get under there, and it's just me and him, because you have a relationship with the catcher when you're behind the plate. I go, bro, didn't your friends ever teach you about snitches? And the kid goes, what? I was like, nothing. Strike! But fucking old,
man.
having a job as a kid, I mean, it teaches you a lot of values. I mean,
It sure does.
Especially Marshall Falk selling popcorn at the Superdome.
Popcorn. Who wants some popcorn? All right, and then just a little scouting report that I have on Marshall Falk, just watching some of his highlight film, his top plays, is that obviously he has a high football IQ to be able to, come out of the backfield and run all the routes, and also to be able to carry the ball and know how to hit the gaps. You got to know the whole game of football. When you're that versatile of a player, you got to have a high football IQ, which a lot of football players obviously have a high football IQ, but he had it to a whole nother level, and he's so elusive on the field. He makes defenders miss. But the one thing I really loved about him was he had one of the best spin moves, man.
Spin moves.
Off the charts.
He's just smooth with it, too.
Mm-hmm.
I remember we were watching some research, and there was a clip of Mike Martz. Remember we were talking, he was the head coach of the greatest show on turf.
Yeah, I remember. What did he say about him? What did he say?
Well,
come on, tell
Marshall was,
tell him, Jules.
They have all these notes for
Tell 'em!
installation, and Marshall's got all these pens out, and he's got very critique notes and using different colors for different positions, different players. And I guess Marshall looks back at the team, and he goes, how the hell is no one else writing notes? Because look at all this information. You know, that's the kind of guy he was. He was a smart, hardworking dude that worked his balls off for everything he had. It wasn't like he was just that. I mean, he was that guy, but it's crazy. I used to love Barry Sanders. And then, you know, I just remember as a kid, this guy, Marshall Faulk, was just so crazy elite. He reminded me a little bit of Barry Sanders with his cutting and he could drop his weight and stuff. He was taller. He wasn't as short as Barry, but like he was kind of like Barry Sanders. And then he was also a really good receiver.
Yeah, he was like a little bit thicker than Barry Sanders, but also he can go out and run routes.
Yeah. It's crazy. That's why, like, I was thinking about it, and we were watching all this research, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, dude, this is like probably one of the best. This is the best guy of all time. Look at these plays.
He is. And just talking about his football.
But it's crazy. Then you watch Jim Brown, you watch Walter Payton, and then I don't know if it's just because I just watched it.
So many good running backs, bro. So many good.
But
it's hard to decide and decipher like who's number one. But just talk about his football IQ. I mean, look at this quote from Sean Payton. He knew not only the offensive side of the football, but also the defensive protections. And he knew the quarterback play as well, and he studied it hard. That's just from Sean Payton. Michael Strahan said he was a coach out there. He's quoted saying that. So, like, that just shows how smart of a player he was, and that's what took his game to a whole nother level as well. So, just speaking of that, Jules, what type of guy is Marshall Faulk?
What kind of dude?
What kind of dude is he?
What kind of dude is Marshall Faulk? I mean,
he
hits a lot of things.
These running backs, though, we're talking about them, none of them are actually like freaks. Like, none of them stand out to you like that. Like, I would say, like, LeGarrette Blount was a freak because he was like 6'4".
Derrick Henry.
Yeah, Derrick Henry's a freak. Like, these guys aren't freaks like that. I mean,
they're not. No, but it's freaky that
it's freaky what they're doing, but they're not freaks in our type of categories.
It's pretty freaky how healthy he was for how much football he played.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got some dog tendencies. He's clearly a freaking stud. But when I think of him, I think of him as an innovative guy.
We're on the same page, brother. Same page.
He pretty much
just how smart he was.
Smart, and how he's changed the running back position to what it's become now. Look at Saquon Barkley out of the backfield. Look at Christian McCaffrey out of the backfield. You know, it's such a pivotal part of a lot of these offenses. A running back, they usually have a two-headed monster. You know, Detroit has, you know, Montgomery and Gibbs, and Algier and Robinson in Atlanta. This guy did all three downs and was just as good as all those guys and better at a lot of these, at everyone, at both of them. Like, that's how good Marshall Faulk was. He invented a position. He evolved the running back position. That's why I think he's a whiz.
Hey, I'm on the same page, and just his football IQ and just the coaches and former players that just talk about how smart he was and how he knows everything that's going on the football field. That takes your game to a whole nother level. I mean, you can be a freak of an athlete, you know, but if you don't know what to do out on the football field, you're not a good football player. You can be less of an athlete, but you know what's going on with the game of football.
And he wasn't less of an athlete.
You can be that much better than the guy that's more athletic than you out on the football field. You're a better football player because of that. And what's also crazy is Marshall Faulk had 760 receptions in his career for 600
more than me
in 875 yards, Julian, in the regular season. You had 620 receptions only for 6,822 yards. And he was a running back, and he had more receptions and yards than you, which is out of control. I'm not saying anything against you. I'm just saying that's how good Marshall Faulk was back in the day. And guess what? They didn't throw the ball as much either back in that era, you know, back in late 90s, 2000.
We'd also be so crazy not to mention one thing. Kevin Faulk's his cousin. That's the
Faulk bloodline.
They have some crazy running backs that know how to catch out of the backfield in that bloodline.
And run the ball as well.
Well, I mean, K Faulk, all of our pass game was to K Faulk.
It was.
And he was like one of the most elite punt returners.
And he was one of the smartest players on the football field as well.
These Faulks.
He knew what was going on. He knew what the linemen were doing, what the quarterback was doing. What the fuck? What the fuck? How are you guys so smart?
And good.
Yeah, and freaking great teammates as well.
Yeah. Great teammates.
Well,
Great.
what kind of dude is he, Jules? You ready?
On 3,
1,
2.
3. Whiz. Stamp it. Put it in the mail.
Real quick, we got a little post segment.
Let's do it.
And since we're talking fantasy football and we have fantasy dudes, let's make an all-time fantasy team.
All right, let's do it.
So, our producers, Kyler and Jack and everyone helped us with some guys.
Love our producers. Thank
Love
you,
them.
guys.
Thank you.
Kyler, Jack.
Let's orchestrate a lineup.
Jack, Kyler.
This is a PPR lineup, I think. We're going to quarterback, running back, receiver, tight end, defense, special team, kicker. So we're going to go, okay, there's no flex. No, that's all right. It's all right.
All right, we did. We just added a flex.
No flex.
Jules, I'm flexing right now, brother.
All right.
I'm taking you down this week in fantasy.
No shot.
You're going down.
No
1
shot.
and 12. Gonna be 2 and 12, baby.
No shot.
I'm not even taking Jamal Williams out of the freaking bye week either. I'm gonna start him still. That's how confident I am.
Put a fork in them. Quarterback. Now, is this all-time seasons? Our quarterback, we got to go with Peyton. We got to go.
I mean, dude, you go with Tom. I mean, it's obvious choice.
We got to pick Tom.
All right, yeah, I know. We just love. We do love
We
you,
gotta
but
pick Tom.
sometimes I feel like we're just picking you too many times, Tom.
Yeah, but
But how you're the greatest, so it's
Yeah,
not our
you gotta go,
fault,
Tom.
you know. I know, like, I just don't want you to get sick of us talking about you. Okay, Tom.
we're picking Tom fucking Brady.
Yeah, Tom
Next.
Brady. Let's go, baby.
Running back.
Running back. Oh, well, obviously we're
Marshall
going with
Faulk.
No. LT had the greatest fantasy football
So you
season
get
of
2
all
running
time.
backs.
Oh, you get 2. Okay, Marshall Faulk and
LT.
Let's go.
Without a doubt.
Also, it's not per year. It's like I just got confused. Yes, LT had that one season where it's the greatest of all time in fantasy, but this is overall, and both of those 2 are actually the greatest 2
Without a doubt.
of all time overall. So LT, Marshall Faulk are 2 running backs, baby.
Receiver.
Ooh.
Got to go Randy. Randy was probably nasty.
Randy. I mean, also Randy, and then whatever.
Jamar Chase he had a fucking 400. He had that crazy game. I might go with Jamar right now.
What about Jerry Rice, brother?
Where's Jerry?
Why is Jerry not on the list? I mean, the guy played
Jerry.
football for like 25 plus years.
Randy Jerry.
Definitely Jerry Moss, bro. Come on.
Randy.
Yeah.
Tight end. I mean, we got to go with you, Rob.
All right, fine.
We got to go with Rob.
I'll accept that. Thanks, buddy.
I mean, was that the best fantasy year of all time?
yes,
For a
it
tight end?
was.
There you go. Special teams.
Thank you.
Defense.
Special teams defense was probably a Baltimore Ravens team, wouldn't you say that?
85 Bears.
Yeah. The 85 Bears would be a great pick.
Or Legion of Boom years. Or the Ravens.
I'm gonna go with
Ravens.
I'm gonna go with the Baltimore Ravens. I feel like they're
Ravens.
just the most known
And they were good
fierce
at special
defense of
teams.
all times.
And special teams were always good.
Yep. Let's go.
Ravens. 2000 Ravens.
But that's just
Kicker.
an era, that whole era, that decade, the 2000 decade
Yeah.
with the Ravens, and just Ray Lewis and freaking with the safety. Ed Reed was there the whole time. So just a decade of the Ravens in the 2000s, and then kicker. I mean, we got to go with probably Adam Vinatieri, correct?
I mean, Steve was
I love Steve.
I love
Gostowski.
Adam.
I love Gostowski, bro.
I
He was
like
clutch. Because Gostowski was clutch, bro. He came through
Well,
big,
people don't realize
big for us plenty of times.
Steve,
Yeah.
he had like the best record of overall kicking percentage until he hurt his hip, and then his hip went, and then he started missing a little. Remember, and then we put him on IR, and then he just kickers.
He had
Kickers.
He had a good couple solid years after the hip injury.
Yeah, but that fucked him up a little.
Yeah, a little. I mean, injuries.
And those
mess
guys
up
are
everyone,
super,
bro.
That's why
Sucks.
it makes me wonder about Justin Tucker. Does Justin Tucker have, something going wrong? Because he's missing some stuff that we don't. There's got to be.
But the thing with Tucker is, bro, like people are acting like he can't kick the ball that far anymore, or like he's just shanking them, and it's bad. Like he's barely missing these.
I know,
field
but
goals.
that's heady. That's head
Like
stuff.
he's barely missing. I'm talking like a foot to the left, a foot to the right. Like I'm thinking like how everyone's ripping him. I went and see the kick. I'm like, wait, that was a very solid kick.
I know.
Still.
I don't rip them. I feel bad. It's tough, man, because that's how the football gods, they humble you sometimes.
They do. Never get
The football
never get up
gods
here.
humble you.
Never have a big head in football because like you said, Jules. Oh, football
Humble.
gods will come and just swipe you right out underneath your feet and just humble you the next week. Man. That's what I've learned. That's what I've learned about football in my life.
When is your humble experience? I had one too.
All right. I mean,
NFL humbled you.
Well, let's hear yours.
Well, mine was, I remember in 2015, we were balling. Remember, we started out 10-0. We just won our Super Bowl.
Yes.
I was lighting it up. Like I think it was week 9, and I had like 60 catches, 7 touchdowns. I was like just fucking. We were on a roll. And like I remember, I bought a condo in Boston, and I was sitting there, and I was redoing it, and I was sitting in there.
Big shot.
Yeah, and it was empty. It was fully. It was completely demoed. Like I was just sitting there imagining what I was doing with it, and I was sitting there like, man, this is awesome. I feel like football is real at an easy point, you know. And I remember the next week I broke my foot. And like I remember specifically thinking when I broke my foot of that situation, I was in the condo thinking, man, the football gods fucking sat me down and said, shut the fuck up. And it hurt me. That's why I always got crazy at the end of wins and stuff, like super like, yo, it's not over yet. We gotta wait to this, that. Because anytime I thought things were great, I got slapped down on them.
100%. I learned after my second year, like you know, when I injured my ankle going into the Super Bowl in 2000, whatever, in that AFC Championship game versus the Ravens, and then that offseason, like I still thought I was unstoppable and invincible, you know, from the season. So I did terrible rehab. I was still going out on my boot, like I'm supposed to be on crutches, and I'm freaking already walking on the boot, drunk and all that stuff, thinking I'm gonna heal like totally, you know, normal. And then like training camp comes, and I became like. I was the best tight end like ever, and I like swear I became like the worst tight end ever when that training camp came, because like I had to pretend I was healed, even though my ankle was messed up still, because I was just so young and dumb that I thought I was going to heal no matter what, and I was doing all the things that Gronk was doing, you know, that what everyone loved Gronk for. So at least everyone loved me for it. But when it came down to that camp the following year, bro, I couldn't get open versus nobody. My ankle was messed up. It wasn't firing. My whole body wasn't firing. And that's when I learned, like, oh my gosh, man, like I thought I was the greatest thing, you know?
Yeah.
Which I kind of was, but I'm going to get knocked out right after I get up out of this chair. Someone's going to just come and hit me for saying that.
No.
Just getting my head too big. But I just showed right there that, hey, you got to put the work in. And I just thought it was going to come natural to me. The football gods, boom, you got to put the work in. If you don't, even when you get hurt, you know, when you get knocked down, you got to put the work back in to come back up. And that's when I truly learned, like, hey, I got to truly start taking care of myself. That was one of the times that my eyes were open, like, wow, I suck right now because I didn't really take care of myself like how I was supposed to. And the football world just comes and smacks you right in the face just like that.
That's why I came up with the term happily miserable, because I had to be in a miserable mindset in order to be happy. Because if I was happy, then it would make me miserable if by something bad happening.
Dude, that's science. I 100% agree with you, bro, because when you're miserable, you're trying to do everything right to get back to happy. And then when you're happy for too long, you forget about doing all the right things that got you to be happy. So you got to become miserable again.
Happily
Dude,
miserable.
You are a freaking genius, Jules. You are a genius. That's some dude knowledge right there. That's dude on dude knowledge. Hopefully, share that with the world, brother.
We got it.
Share it.
I have. I made a T-shirt.
Right there.
Read the whole. What's our team, Rob?
All right, quarterback position. We got the GOAT. We got the greatest. We got the quarterback that we actually made famous, Julian. Tom Brady, ladies and gentlemen.
A lot of touchdowns for you.
And then our running back, LaDainian Tomlinson, and running back Marshall Faulk, the two greatest fantasy football players of all time. Wide receiver, we got the straight cash homie right there. Shout off the shirt, Jules. Shout out
Randy.
to Randy Moss.
Love him.
Baby. Also, wide receiver Jerry Rice, who played like 50 years and just absolutely dominated every single year that he played. And then defense, special teams, we got the Baltimore Ravens, decade of the 2000s, because they were just absolute savages,
Fucking
absolute
savage.
beasts.
Ray.
They put the
Still
fear.
got J-Lo booty.
And everyone that they were lining up against, Ray Lewis, they were led by him, who's one of the greatest linebackers, if not one of the greatest linebacker of all time. And then we're going with kicker Steven Gostkowski.
Are we going Gostkowski? Or
we're going with Gostkowski.
I think we're going. No, we got to go Vinatieri.
We do got to go Vinatieri. I love Gostkowski, but yes, we do. We just got.
And you forgot You forgot tight end. We got to go you. I know you didn't want to read your name, but without a doubt, you got to go Rob on fantasy.
I was just being humble. I didn't want to get humbled by the football gods, so I humbled myself and let you say my name, Jules. I really wish you were on that list, Jules. What the heck? Can we put slot receiver?
Nah, we're good. We're good.
You're being humble. You don't want to get humbled by the football gods. Well, I'm gonna put you on there, slot receiver.
No.
You're right.
We know that fantasy football takes place during the regular season.
Don't put them on. Nope.
If it was the postseason, it'd be different.
I just spiked my water bottle. I'm getting so excited about fantasy touchdowns.
What's our team name?
Dudes.
Dudes, Rad, Team, Auto Draftees.
Yeah. I like that actually.
Dudes, Rad.
Dudes, Rad, Team, Auto Draftees.
No.
Dudes, Rad, Auto Drafty.
Dudes, Rad, Earns, Auto Draftees.
Yeah.
Because remember, if we have Ernie in there.
Oh, yeah.
You got to be smart.
Automatically a genius. Yeah.
Earns Auto Draftees.
He's got the football gods on his side, Ernie.
Well, he probably never happy.
He was always, yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, he stays in that like calculation mindset where he's happy, but like he's happy counting numbers. That's different than like happy like, oh man, I got fucking 60 catches in 9 games. I'm fucking the best.
And he never talked, so he was always always humble, always thinking about the next thing. So he could never have a big head.
Never.
Big head full of knowledge, that's all. But not a big head full of, being cocky. Just a good guy.
Good guy. Great library too.
Great guy.
Well, that's been another episode of Dudes on Dudes. What could we do?
Well, I can tell you
episode?
this, Jules, because what could we do better? Well, a lot of fans saying what I could do better was I could wear shoes. So
I like you.
Let me tell you, I'm listening to you guys, and I thought if they said I could be better on the show because if I wear shoes, then I'm gonna wear shoes because I'm listening to the fans out there. So I'm wearing shoes here today, baby. These are my Wolf and Shepherds, all whites.
Wolf and Shepherd, all whites. You woofing, dog. You dropped
a
wolf ticket.
Wolf and Shepherd.
Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you listen to podcasts. Comment a dude you want us to do. And remember,
rate and review.
Rate and review.
And remember to follow Dudes on Dudes on YouTube, Instagram, X, TikTok, and Snapchat. However you watch Dudes on Dudes, thank you very much. So we'll see you next week.
See you next week.